My name is Ayanah Moor, and I'm a visual artist. My work has encompassed a lot of tools, a lot of various tools over the years, but recently I've been focused on painting, and that's the focus of the exhibition at the Cleve Carney Museum of Art. The title of the exhibition is I Wish I Could Be You More Often, and it's actually inspired by the title of an album by an artist named Cleve, and it's sound that's pulled from various sources. It's almost like a visual collage. And when I first heard it, I thought that's very much like how I work. Either I'm pulling from various material sources or I'm inspired by different stylistic approaches, and those arrive in the kind of work that I make. I think is like shifting just the flatness. I'm also going to use that airbrush a bit, so that's going to create this other layer. The approach, I think, is a reflection of, I would say, the era in which I was born. So I think the aesthetics of the hip-hop generation is to be in conversation with the previous generation's creative work. So if you think about the role of sampling, you're in conversation with the artists that your parents listened to, and you're trying to kind of tease out your own aesthetic from their available material. And I think I approach my painting in that way. It's a collage mentality, and there are some times when that collage is very literal. So in certain paintings, there might be a collage element pulled from a magazine, specifically Ebony or Jet magazine. But then there are other times when art historically, there are certain artists that I, in my own imagination, I'm in conversation with. And so the viewers may be understanding of that. They can see those little pieces that feel like it's in dialogue with another period in art, the history of art. Color in the show is this fun way to extend what's happening in the painting and possibly kind of saturate the viewer in this kind of pleasure of color. I see it as this way to think about the whole site as this experience with the artwork. The color is very intentional. That is kind of supporting the painting. And then there's maybe a seating element or a plant, and that creates something that feels a little bit warmer as you encounter the artwork. Outside of the museum, the entryway has a print, and that print is a photograph of a cabin that my ancestors lived in. And I've treated that print, this lithograph that uses that image as a ground, and I've worked on top of it. Almost childlike markings on this image. Of course, it's just read as a house. As American history would have it, the back end of the story is that this house is behind a plantation that I've been to with my family. So this house and the treatment on this house, it both recognizes some of the horror of the period of American slavery, but it also, within my imagination, is an opportunity to think about that site not only as a site of horror, but a site of endurance, survival, the capacity for love, even in the most dire consequence. When many of the paintings that I'm making are really inspired by the potential for love in that space. That's something that is not literally visible in the work necessarily, but it just gives you a sense of kind of what's operating in the background for me. And then my ability in the current work to kind of launch from that to create a myriad of artworks that reflect the spirit of that freedom, with different imagery, with a different palette, and really focusing on the love aspect.